The leftovers that changed everything. A billionaire's awakening. Imagine the unimaginable. A powerful billionaire, hardened by success and solitude, faces a desperate plea. "May I have the leftovers, sir?" A young woman, holding a hungry child, whispers. In that raw, shattering moment, as his eyes meet hers, his life changes forever. He'd conquered cities, built empires, but never truly lived. What happens when a simple act of desperation unlocks a hidden compassion, forcing a man to confront his own emptiness and find purpose in the most unexpected place? This is a story of wealth, poverty, and a connection that proves some miracles begin with the simplest of questions. An empty empire, a desperate plea. Arthur Vance walked the marble corridors of his office on the 42nd floor of Manhattan's most luxurious skyscraper. His Italian shoes echoed with each step, marking the rhythm of a man who had conquered the world of real estate, but had lost something far more valuable along the way. At 40, Arthur was what many would call a successful man. His company, Vance Developments, had built half the city. Glass and steel towers that touched the clouds bore his name engraved on golden plaques. But on that Friday afternoon, as he looked out his office window at the city he had helped transform, he felt emptier than ever. "Mr. Vance," his assistant Martha, a 50-year-old woman who had worked for him for 15 years, said, "It's already 8 o'clock. Aren't you going home?" Arthur didn't take his eyes off the window. Down below, the city lights were beginning to turn on like small stars. People were returning to their homes, their families, their real lives. He, on the other hand, was in no hurry to get anywhere. "You can leave if you want, Martha." "Sir, forgive me for intruding, but you've been working 14 hours straight. You need to rest. Eat something decent." Arthur finally turned to her. Martha had seen him grow professionally, from an ambitious young man with more dreams than money. Now she looked at him with that maternal expression, which sometimes made him uncomfortable because it reminded him how alone he was. "I'm fine, Martha, really." But he wasn't fine, and they both knew it. Since he had decided to prioritize his career above everything else, relationships had become impossible. The women who approached him only saw his bank account. His childhood friends had grown tired of being canceled for last-minute meetings. Even his family had stopped inviting him to family gatherings. Martha sighed and picked up her bag. "Then at least go out to a decent dinner. Don't stay here all night again." When he was alone, Arthur poured himself a whiskey and looked out the window again. The truth was, he wasn't hungry. He didn't feel like going to one of those expensive restaurants where they knew him and treated him like the king he was in the business world, but where he felt like a stranger in his own life. His stomach growled, betraying his thoughts. He hadn't eaten all day, surviving on coffee and pure adrenaline. He grabbed his coat, turned off the office lights, and decided that maybe Martha was right. He needed to get out of there, but when he reached the parking lot and saw his black Mercedes-Benz, something stopped him. He didn't want to go to any of his usual places. He didn't want to see the same faces, hear the same empty conversations about money and power. Without much thought, he got in the car and started driving aimlessly. The rain began to fall softly on the windshield. It was one of those typical October rains in New York City. Persistent, but not violent. Arthur drove through streets he didn't frequent, moving away from the business district, delving into neighborhoods he hadn't visited in years. It was then that he saw the small neon sign, Mama Rosa's Home Cookin'. It was a simple restaurant, the kind his mother would have called a neighborhood joint. The windows were steamed up from the kitchen's warmth, and despite the rain, there was movement inside. Without knowing why, Arthur parked the car. Maybe it was fatigue. Maybe it was that strange melancholy that had haunted him all week. But something compelled him to get out of the car and walk towards the entrance of the small restaurant. The contrast was immediate. From the luxurious silence of his office, he stepped into the warm murmur of family conversations, the clinking of plates and cutlery, the aroma of real food. It was like entering another world. An older lady, whom he presumed was Mama Rosa, approached him with a genuine smile. "Good evening, young man. Table for one." "Yes, please." She led him to a table by the window. Arthur sat down, and for the first time in a long time, he truly looked around. There were families dining together, couples sharing dessert, workers ending their day with a hot meal. It was real life, without pretense. He ordered a classic beef stew and homemade biscuits. When the food arrived, he had to admit he hadn't tasted anything so authentic, so full of flavor, in years. He was so focused on eating that he didn't notice the small figure who had approached his table until he heard a soft voice, almost a whisper. "Excuse me, sir." Arthur looked up and met the saddest, most beautiful eyes he had ever seen. She was a young woman, perhaps 30, with dark hair tied back in a ponytail. Her clothes were simple, but clean, and she carried a small child no more than 3 years old in her arms. "May I have the leftovers, sir?" The words hit Arthur like lightning. It wasn't just what she said, but how she said it. There was a broken dignity in her voice, a humiliation that fought against desperation. Her eyes shimmered with tears she refused to shed, and the child in her arms looked at the plate of stew with a hunger that was impossible to ignore. The world stopped for a moment. Arthur had heard of poverty. He had donated money to charities. He had read statistics in newspapers, but he had never seen need so closely, so real, so human. He began to say, but the words caught in his throat. The woman interpreted his silence as a rejection and began to walk away, whispering, "Sorry to bother you, sir. It won't happen again." "Wait!" Arthur got up so fast he almost knocked over his chair. "Please, don't leave." She stopped but didn't turn around. Arthur could see her shoulders trembling. He didn't know if it was from cold, hunger, or shame. "What's your name?" he asked softly. Several seconds passed before she responded, without turning. "Anna Marie, sir. And he's my little Carlos," the boy piped up. "Anna Marie," Arthur repeated, feeling as if he had found something he didn't know he was looking for. "You don't need the leftovers. Sit with me, please. I'd like to treat you to dinner." This time she did turn, and Arthur saw in her eyes a mix of surprise, distrust, and a spark of hope that refused to die completely. How does Anna Marie's simple request for leftovers challenge Arthur's perception of his own success and loneliness? What do you think is the significance of the little boy, Carlos, in this pivotal moment? Share your theories in the comments. A meal, a revelation, a promise. Anna Marie hesitated for a moment that seemed eternal. In her 30 years of life, she had learned to distrust the kind gestures of wealthy men. But there was something different in this man's eyes. It wasn't pity she saw, nor that calculating gaze she knew so well. It was something purer, more human. "I don't want to cause you any trouble, sir," she murmured, clutching Carlos tighter to her chest. "It's no trouble," Arthur replied, and surprisingly he meant it. "My name is Arthur Vance, and I'd really like you to have dinner with me." The child chose that moment to make a small rumbling sound with his stomach that made his mother smile sadly. That was the signal Anna Marie needed. Her pride could resist, but she couldn't ignore her son's hunger. "All right," she whispered, approaching the table slowly. "But only for Carlos." Arthur gestured to Mama Rosa, who approached with thinly veiled curiosity. "Mama Rosa, could you please bring more stew and something soft for the boy?" "Of course, young man." the lady replied with a smile that lit up her wrinkled face. "I'll bring chicken broth for the little one, and While they waited for the food, an awkward silence settled between them. Arthur didn't know how to start a conversation. In his business world, he had calculated strategic conversations. But this was different. This was real. "Where are you from?" he finally asked. Anna Marie had seated Carlos on her lap and was gently rocking him. "From here, the city. We live—" She paused as if admitting where they lived was another blow to her dignity. "We live in a tenement building nearby." "And do you work?" Anna Marie's eyes hardened slightly. "I'm a licensed teacher," she said with wounded pride. "At least I was. I used to work at an elementary school in the East Village. When Carlos was born, things got complicated." Arthur felt he had touched a sensitive subject, but he needed to understand. "The boy's father? He doesn't exist," Anna Marie cut in sharply. "I mean, biologically, yes, but for us, no. He left when he found out about the pregnancy. He said he wasn't ready to be a father, that he had other plans for his life." The bitterness in her voice was palpable. Arthur had known men like that, men who ran from responsibilities like he had run from relationships. For the first time, he wondered if he would have done the same in that situation. Mama Rosa arrived with a tray full of steaming food, stew for Anna Marie, chicken broth for Carlos, fresh biscuits, and even a warm glass of milk for the little one. "Here you go, my dears," the lady said with genuine affection, "and don't you worry about a thing." Anna Marie looked at the food as if it were a miracle. Her hands trembled slightly when she picked up the spoon. "Thank you," she whispered, though Arthur wasn't sure if she was saying it to him or to Mama Rosa. As she carefully fed Carlos, Arthur observed her hands. They were workers' hands, with calluses and small scars, but also delicate hands, of someone who had known better times. "What happened with your job?" he asked gently. Anna Marie didn't look up from her plate. "When Carlos was born, he got very sick. The first few months were terrible. I had to take him to the doctor constantly, miss work. The school principal was very understanding at first, but then she said she needed someone reliable, someone who could be there every day. And since then, I do what I can. I clean houses, babysit, sell tamales on weekends in the park. But sometimes," her voice broke slightly, "sometimes it's not enough." Arthur felt something strange in his chest, as if an invisible fist were clenching it. He spent on one dinner what Anna Marie probably didn't see in a week. "Was today one of those days?" he asked softly. Anna Marie finally looked him in the eyes. There were tears there, but also a strength that impressed him. "The lady I work for told me she no longer needed my services, without warning, without explanation. And I had spent the last of my money on Carlos's medicine. He has a cold that won't go away." As if he had heard his name, the child coughed softly. It was a dry cough that worried Arthur. "Has he seen a doctor?" "We went to the health center, but the line was 4 hours long, and Carlos was very restless. They told me to come back another day." Arthur couldn't help but think of his private doctor, how a simple phone call could solve the child's health problem in an hour. "Look, Mr. Arthur," Anna Marie said, delicately wiping Carlos's mouth with a napkin. "I don't know why you're being so kind to me, but I want you to know that I'm not one of those people who takes advantage of others' kindness. Tomorrow I'll look for another job, and I swear I'll pay you back for this meal." "I don't want you to pay me anything," Arthur responded immediately, "and I don't think of you as someone who takes advantage. On the contrary, I think you're one of the strongest people I've met." "Strong?" Anna Marie looked at him in surprise. "Sir, 10 minutes ago I was asking for the leftovers of your meal. I don't think that's strong. Are you kidding? Arthur leaned forward. You have a university degree. You're raising your son alone. You work whatever job it takes to get by, and when everything seems impossible, instead of giving up, you look for a solution, even if that solution means swallowing your pride and asking a stranger for help. That's not weakness, Anna Marie. That's pure courage. For the first time since they had sat down together, Anna Marie smiled. It was a small, shy, but real smile. I've never seen it that way. Well, you should. And I think your son is going to grow up knowing he has the bravest mom in the world. Carlos, as if he had understood the conversation, stretched his little hands towards Arthur and babbled something that sounded like "thank you." Arthur felt something melt in his chest. When was the last time someone had said thank you and really meant it? When had someone looked at him as if he were a hero instead of just a rich man? You know what? He said impulsively. Tomorrow, you're not going to look for a job. Anna Marie frowned, worried. What do you mean? I mean, tomorrow we're going to take Carlos to a real pediatrician, and then we're going to sit down and talk about your future. I have some ideas. Mr. Arthur, I can't accept. You can, and you will accept, he interrupted gently. But not out of charity, but because I think we can help each other. Anna Marie looked at him with curiosity and something that might have been hope. But neither of them knew that the next day a phone call would change everything, and that Anna Marie's past would collide with Arthur's present in the most unexpected way. What is the significance of Arthur seeing courage in Anna Marie's vulnerability rather than weakness? How do you predict Anna Marie's past will collide with Arthur's present, and what implications might that have for their burgeoning connection? Share your theories in the comments. A shocking revelation. A desperate retreat. The next morning arrived with brilliant sunshine that seemed to have washed away all the sadness of the previous night. Arthur woke up in his uptown home, but for the first time in months, he didn't feel empty. He had a mission, a purpose that went beyond quarterly profits and board meetings. As he prepared for the day, he couldn't stop thinking about Anna Marie and little Carlos. There was something about that woman that had awakened feelings he thought were buried forever. It wasn't just compassion. It was something deeper, more personal. He picked up his phone and dialed his personal physician, Dr. Green. Good morning, doctor. It's Arthur Vance. I need a very special favor. Arthur, how are you? Is everything all right with your health? I'm perfectly fine, doctor. But I have a friend. Well, a friend who has a small child who needs medical attention. Could you see him today? Of course, my boy. What time do you need the appointment? Would 10 o'clock be possible? For you, Arthur. Anything. Send your friend to my private office. After hanging up, Arthur realized he had called Anna Marie his friend, without thinking. Was that what she was? Or was it something more? He dressed in more casual clothes than usual, got in his car, and drove to the address Anna Marie had given him the night before. It was an old but dignified tenement building, the kind that resisted the passage of time in the heart of the city. When he arrived, several neighbors peered out their windows, curious to see the Mercedes-Benz parked in front of their building. Arthur climbed the stairs to the second floor and knocked on the door of apartment number 8. Anna Marie opened almost immediately, as if she had been waiting by the door. She wore a simple but clean blue dress, and there was something different in her posture. She seemed less defeated than the night before. Good morning, Arthur, she said softly. I wasn't sure you'd come. I told you I would, he replied, surprised at how natural her name sounded on his lips. How's Carlos? Better, thank you. He slept all night. I think the warm food did him good. Arthur looked over Anna Marie's shoulder and could see the small apartment. It was tiny, but impeccably clean and tidy. There were children's drawings taped to the walls and a small altar with fresh flowers in a corner. Ready to go to the doctor, Arthur? Last night I thought a lot about what you said, and And I decided you're right. Carlos needs medical attention, and I need to accept help. But I want you to know that this isn't going to be free for you. I'll find a way to pay you back." Arthur smiled. Anna Marie's determination was admirable. "We'll talk about that later. For now, let's go see Dr. Green." Dr. Green's office was the complete opposite of the public health clinic. Elegant, quiet, with air conditioning and current magazines in the waiting room. Anna Marie looked at everything with wide eyes, clearly impressed, but trying not to show it. Dr. Green was an older man, one of those old-school doctors who genuinely cared about his patients. He examined Carlos patiently and affectionately, speaking to the child in a soft voice as he checked him. "It's just a common cold, but the little one is a bit malnourished," he told Anna Marie afterwards. "Nothing serious, but he needs vitamins and a diet richer in protein." Anna Marie looked down, embarrassed. "Doctor, I do what I can, but sometimes—" "Don't worry, ma'am," the doctor gently interrupted her. "I'm not judging you. I know you do everything you can for your son. I'm just giving you medical recommendations." After the consultation, while they waited for the prescription at the pharmacy in the same building, Anna Marie turned to Arthur. "How much do I owe the doctor?" "Nothing. It's already paid." "Arthur." "Anna Marie, please accept the help." She sighed and nodded, but Arthur could see that her mind was working, probably calculating how she was going to pay him back for all of this. They decided to have breakfast at a small cafe near the office. While Carlos played with some colored blocks the doctor had given him, Arthur and Anna Marie talked. "Tell me more about yourself," Arthur said. "Last night you told me you were a licensed teacher. Did you always want to be a teacher?" Anna Marie's eyes lit up for the first time. "Ever since I was a little girl. My mom was a teacher too. She said teaching was the noblest profession in the world because you helped shape the future." "Does your mom still live?" Anna Marie's expression saddened. "No. She died when Carlos was 6 months old. Cancer. It was very quick. I'm so sorry. She was my only family. My dad abandoned us when I was 10. My mom worked day and night to raise me so I could go to university." Arthur felt a pang in his chest. He had had all the privileges, all the opportunities, and he hadn't known how to value them. Anna Marie had fought for every achievement in her life. "She must have been very proud of you." "She was." Anna Marie smiled sadly. "The day I graduated, she cried with happiness. She said everything had been worth it, that now I could give my future children what she had given me, education and values." "And Carlos's dad?" Anna Marie played with her coffee cup before responding. His name is Robert. He was an architect, a colleague at the school where I taught. We were planning to get married. I thought he was the love of my life." "What happened?" "When I told him I was pregnant, he changed completely. He said he couldn't ruin his career for a mistake, that he was too young to be a father. He offered me money to, you know." Arthur nodded, feeling a strange anger towards a man he had never met. "And you never heard from him again?" "Once, when Carlos was 1, he showed up at my job. He had gotten a very important position at a construction company. He had a new car, expensive clothes. He told me he had thought things over, that maybe we could try again, but that I would have to move to Boston with him. And I told him no, that Carlos and I were fine on our own, that we didn't need someone who saw us as a convenient option when it suited them." Arthur looked at her with admiration. "You did the right thing." "You think so?" "Sometimes I wonder if I shouldn't have accepted. For Carlos, a father figure, financial stability." "Anna Marie, look at me." Arthur took her hand across the table. "Carlos has the best mother in the world. A father who abandons him and then returns when it suits him is not what he needs. You are teaching him real values, dignity, hard work, true love." At that moment, Arthur's phone rang. It was Martha, his assistant. Arthur, sorry to bother you, but there's something urgent. Do you remember the school project we canceled last year? Which school? The elementary school in the East Village. The one that was going to be demolished to build the shopping center. Arthur felt his blood run cold. What about that school, Martha? Well, it turns out there was a mistake in the paperwork. The school can't be demolished. It's a historical landmark. And now the original owners want it back to reopen classes. Arthur looked at Anna Marie, who was watching him with curiosity. What was that school called, Martha? Greenwich Village Elementary School. Why? Arthur almost dropped his phone. Fate couldn't be so cruel, or so generous. Martha, I'll call you back. He hung up and stared at Anna Marie. I need to tell you something, and when you finish, listening to me, you might never want to see me again. Anna Marie paled. What's wrong, Arthur? You're scaring me. Anna Marie, I was the one who bought your school. I was the one who closed it. The silence that followed was deafening. Anna Marie looked at him as if she hadn't understood the words. What did you say? Your school. Greenwich Village Elementary School. My company bought it to demolish it and build a shopping center. Indirectly, I was responsible for you losing your job. Tears began to roll down Anna Marie's cheeks. She got up from the table so fast that her chair almost fell. I can't believe this, she whispered. I can't believe it. Anna Marie, wait, let me explain. Explain what? Her voice rose. That the man who invited me to dinner last night out of pity is the same one who destroyed my life? It wasn't out of pity, and you know it. You know what? You're right. It wasn't out of pity. It was out of guilt. You felt guilty and decided to play benefactor with me. Anna Marie took Carlos in her arms and began to walk towards the cafe exit. Anna Marie, please, listen to me. This doesn't change anything between us. She stopped at the door and turned. Her eyes glistened with tears and a rage Arthur had never seen. It changes everything. Arthur, because of you, I lost my job. Because of you, my son and I have gone hungry. Because of you, last night I had to humiliate myself by asking for your leftovers, and now you come and tell me it changes nothing. Arthur, I never want to see you again, and don't you dare look for me. She left, leaving Arthur alone in the cafe, feeling as if something vital had been ripped from his chest. But what neither of them knew was that this separation would make Arthur make the most important decision of his life. A decision that would not only change his destiny, but that of hundreds of families like Anna Marie's. How does the revelation of Arthur's direct involvement in the school's closure impact Anna Marie's perception of him and their connection? Do you think Arthur's desire to fix things is truly about Anna Marie, or more about his own guilt? Share your insights in the comments. A crusade for justice. The next 3 days were the longest in Arthur Vance's life. He hadn't slept well, couldn't concentrate at work, and every time he closed his eyes, he saw Anna Marie's face, filled with pain and betrayal, when he had told her the truth. Martha had been observing him with concern since he returned from the cafe that day. Boss, I don't know what's wrong with you, but you have to tell me. In 15 years working for you, I've never seen you like this. Arthur stood in front of his office window, looking out at the city, but not truly seeing it. Martha, do you think I'm a bad person? The question surprised his assistant. What kind of question is that, Mr. Vance? An honest question. In all these years building this empire, how many lives have we affected? How many families have we displaced? How many dreams have we destroyed for profit? Martha approached and placed a maternal hand on her boss's shoulder. Arthur, business is business. You can't carry the responsibility for everything. Besides, you've also created jobs, built homes for families. Martha, he interrupted softly. Do you remember Greenwich Village Elementary School? Of course, the project that got canceled. What about that school? I met one of the teachers who lost her job when we bought it. Martha frowned. And I fell in love with her. The words came out before Arthur could stop them, but as soon as he said them, he knew they were true. He had fallen in love with Anna Marie, not only with her beauty, but with her strength, her dignity, the way she loved her son, her ability to stand tall despite all adversity. "My God," Martha whispered, "and she knows who you are?" "She does now, and she hates me, and she has every right to hate me." Martha sat heavily in a chair. "What are you going to do?" Arthur turned to her, and Martha saw something in his eyes she had never seen before, determination mixed with desperation. "I'm going to fix all of this, not just with Anna Marie, but with all the families we've affected. I'm going to find a way to make things right." "Mr. Vance," "Martha, I want you to find all the files for the school project. I want to know exactly what happened, who else was affected, and what options we have now." "Options? For what?" "To rebuild what we destroyed." Martha looked at him as if he had lost his mind, but she knew Arthur well enough to know that when he made a decision, nothing would stop him. That same afternoon, Arthur had all the information on his office desk. Greenwich Village Elementary School had been founded in 1944. For 7 years, it had educated thousands of children from the neighborhood. When his company had bought it, not only Anna Marie had lost her job. There had been 23 teachers and administrative staff in total. But what struck him most was reading the local press reports about the closure. There were interviews with desperate parents, children who had to walk miles to reach another school, teachers with decades of experience who hadn't been able to find other jobs. One interview in particular broke his heart. It was with Anna Marie, taken 3 months after the school's closure. "This school was more than a job for me," she had told the reporter. "It was my home, my family. Here, I learned to be a teacher. Here, I grew professionally. The children of the neighborhood need this school. Many of them come from families who can't afford tuition, and now they have to travel very far to study. Some have simply stopped going to school." At the end of the interview, the reporter had asked her what message she had for the businessmen responsible for the closure. Anna Marie had looked directly into the camera and said, "I just ask them to consider that behind every building they tear down, there are stories, there are lives, there are dreams. We are not just numbers in a financial report. We are people with families who depend on us." Arthur had to stop reading. He felt as if every word from Anna Marie was a dagger in his conscience, but he also felt something else, a clarity he hadn't had in years about what truly mattered in life. He picked up his phone and called his lawyer. "Mr. Roberts, it's Arthur. I need you to investigate something urgently. Is it possible to reverse the purchase of Greenwich Village Elementary School?" "Reverse it? Why would you want to do that? That land is worth a fortune now." "That's not your question, Mr. Roberts. Your question is whether it can be done." "Well, technically, yes. You'd have to sell it back to the government or donate it. But how long would that take? If you have all the documentation in order, and if you're willing to absorb all the financial losses, maybe 2 weeks. Do it. I want the school to be back up and running as soon as possible." "Arthur, are you sure? You're going to lose millions of dollars." "Mr. Roberts, I think I just found the best investment of my life." After hanging up, Arthur remained in his office until very late, making plans. It wouldn't be enough just to return the school. He had to do something bigger, something that would truly make a difference. 2 days later, Arthur had a complete plan. Not only was he going to return the school to the government, but he was also going to fully finance its renovation. New classrooms, computer labs, a library, a school cafeteria, a playground. He was also going to create a fund for the most needy families, so that no child in the neighborhood would be without an education due to lack of resources. But most importantly, he wanted Anna Marie to be the principal of the new school. The problem was that Anna Marie didn't want to see him. He had gone to her tenement 3 times, and she hadn't opened the door. He had sent her flowers with letters explaining his plans, but she had returned them unopened. It was Martha who gave him the idea. "Sir, if you can't talk to her directly, why don't you talk to someone else? Didn't you say she worked babysitting? Maybe one of the parents?" Arthur slapped his forehead. "Of course, Mama Rosa, the lady from the restaurant where they met." If anyone could help him find Anna Marie, it was her. That night, Arthur returned to the small restaurant. Mama Rosa greeted him with a smile, but Arthur noticed a certain coldness in her eyes. "Good evening, young man. Table for one. Again." "Mama Rosa, I need to talk to you. It's about Anna Marie." The lady's expression hardened. "Ah, so you're the famous Arthur. Anna Marie came here crying 3 days ago. She told me everything. Mama Rosa, I know I made terrible mistakes, but I want to fix them. I want to make things right. And you think money is going to fix that girl's broken heart? No, ma'am, it's not about money. It's about justice, and it's about love." Mama Rosa studied him carefully. "Sit down, young man. I think we need to talk." For the next hour, Arthur told Mama Rosa everything. His plans for the school, his determination to change the way he did business. But most of all, he told her how he felt about Anna Marie. "That woman changed my life in one night, Mama Rosa. She made me remember what truly matters. And now that I've lost her, I realize that nothing I've built is worth anything if I don't have someone to share it with." Mama Rosa sighed deeply. "Anna Marie comes here every night at 8. She brings Carlos and has dinner at that corner table. They're the only customers I have at that hour. And frankly, sometimes I think she comes more for the company than for the food. Would you help me talk to her?" "No, young man. That's something you have to do alone. But I'll give you some advice. Anna Marie is not one of those women who are impressed by grand gestures. She values honesty, humility. If you truly love her, show her with actions, not with words. And what if she doesn't forgive me?" Mama Rosa smiled for the first time since the conversation began. "Young man, that girl has the biggest heart I've ever known. If your intentions are pure, if you are truly willing to change, she will see it. You just have to be patient." How does Arthur's conversation with Mama Rosa reveal his evolving understanding of love and humility? What specific advice from Mama Rosa do you think will be most crucial for Arthur to follow in his attempt to win Anna Marie back? Share your insights in the comments. A second chance. A new family. The next day, Arthur received the call he had been waiting for. His lawyer confirmed that all the paperwork was ready. The school officially belonged to the government again, and he had donated $2 million for its complete renovation. Now, all that remained was the hardest part, convincing Anna Marie to give him a second chance. But would Anna Marie be able to see beyond the pain and betrayal? And what surprise did fate have in store for this couple who seemed destined to love each other despite all adversities? It was 7:45 p.m. when Arthur arrived at Mama Rosa's restaurant. His hands trembled slightly as he parked the car. In his briefcase, he carried all the documents that proved what he had done. The school's title transferred back to the government, the contracts with the construction companies for the renovation, the educational fund he had established. But more importantly than all that, he carried in his heart the words he had rehearsed 1,000 times, the words he hoped could heal the damage he had caused. Mama Rosa saw him enter and gestured him to a discreet table from where he could see the corner table where Anna Marie usually sat. "You're early, young man," she said softly. "That's good. It gives you time to calm down. Mama Rosa, what if she runs away as soon as she sees me? Then you'll follow her and speak to her with your heart in your hand. But something tells me that won't be necessary." At exactly 8 o'clock, the restaurant door opened, and Anna Marie entered with Carlos in her arms. Arthur felt the air escape his lungs. She looked thinner than the last time, and there was a sadness in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Anna Marie headed to her usual table without noticing Arthur's presence. Mama Rosa approached her with a smile. Good evening, my dear. The usual for you and the little one? Yes, please, Mama Rosa, but could it be just one portion today? I don't have much money. Arthur's heart ached hearing those words. It was clear that Anna Marie was going through even harder times since their fight. Don't worry about the money, my dear. You know there's always a warm meal here for you and Carlos. Anna Marie smiled gratefully, but Arthur could see that it hurt her to have to depend on others' charity. Mama Rosa returned to the kitchen and gestured to Arthur. It was time. Arthur slowly stood up and walked towards Anna Marie's table. She was entertaining Carlos with a small toy when she saw Arthur's shoes in front of her table. She looked up, and her expression immediately hardened. "What are you doing here?" she asked coldly. "Anna Marie, please, just give me 5 minutes. I already told you I didn't want to see you again. Just 5 minutes. If after listening to me, you still want me to leave, I'll go and never bother you again." Anna Marie looked at him for a long moment. Carlos chose that moment to stretch his little arms towards Arthur, babbling, "Arthur, Arthur," his attempt at saying Arthur. "Even he hasn't forgotten you," Anna Marie murmured, with a sad smile. "All right, 5 minutes, but sit down quickly before I change my mind." Arthur sat down and placed his briefcase on the table. "First of all, I want to apologize. Not for what happened with the school, because that can't be undone, but for not telling you the truth from the beginning. Anna Marie, please, let me finish. When we bought that school, for me, it was just another project, an old building on valuable land. I didn't think about the people who worked there, about the children who studied there, about the families who depended on that place. They were just numbers on paper." Anna Marie kept her gaze fixed on him, but Arthur could see she was truly listening. "But that night, when I met you, when I saw the love with which you care for Carlos, when I heard your story, I understood that I had been living my life completely wrong. I had become a money-making machine, but I had lost my humanity." Arthur opened his briefcase and took out the documents. "That's why I did this." He placed the papers in front of Anna Marie. "I returned the school to the government. It's all here, in these documents. Greenwich Village Elementary School is going to reopen." Anna Marie took the papers with trembling hands. Her eyes filled with tears as she read. "No, it can't be true." "But that's not all." Arthur took out more documents. "I also donated money to completely renovate it. New classrooms, a computer lab, a library, a cafeteria, everything those children need and deserve." "Arthur, why?" "Because you were right. Behind every building I tear down, there are stories, there are lives, there are dreams. And because I fell in love with the woman who taught me that." Tears now streamed freely down Anna Marie's cheeks. "But there's something else." Arthur took out the last document. "I want you to be the principal of the new school. The salary is 3 times what you earned before. There's full medical insurance for you, Carlos, and a pension fund." Anna Marie dropped the papers and covered her face with her hands. "I can't accept this. It's too much." "Why can't you accept it?" "Because I feel like you're buying me, like you're paying me to forgive you." Arthur extended his hand and gently touched Anna Marie's. "Anna Marie, look at me. Do you really believe I'm doing this to buy you?" She looked up and met the most sincere eyes she had ever seen. "I don't know, Arthur. I don't know what to think." "Then I'll tell you what to think. I'm doing this because when I met the bravest, strongest, most beautiful woman in the world, I realized that my whole life had been empty without her. I'm doing this because I want to be the man you deserve, not the man I was before." "But Arthur, we're from different worlds. You're a millionaire. I'm a single mother with nothing." "You know what?" Arthur smiled. "Last night I thought about that all night, and I realized something. Money hasn't given me happiness. Mansions, cars, expensive suits. None of that means anything if I don't have someone who truly loves me for who I am, not for what I have. Carlos, who had been playing silently, suddenly stretched his little arms towards Arthur and said clearly, "Daddy!" Both Arthur and Anna Marie froze. It was the first time Carlos had uttered that word, and he had directed it at Arthur. "Carlos, no," Anna Marie began, but Arthur interrupted her. "Anna Marie, I know it might be too soon to say this, amigo, but I want to be Carlos's dad. I want to be your husband. I want us to be a family." "Arthur, I know I don't deserve a second chance, but I'm asking you to let me spend the rest of my life proving to you that I can be the man you need." Anna Marie closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "You know what's the craziest thing about all this?" she finally said. "That despite everything, despite the pain, despite the betrayal I felt, I never stopped thinking about you. I never stopped remembering the way you looked at me that first night, as if I were the most important woman in the world." "It's because you are," Arthur whispered. "You are the most important woman in my world." Anna Marie opened her eyes, and Arthur saw something in them that gave him hope. "All right," she said softly. "I'm going to give you a second chance, but on my terms, whatever they are. First, no expensive gifts, no trying to impress me with money. If we're going to be together, I want it to be because we love each other, not because you can give me a luxurious life. I accept. Second, I want to work. I want to be independent. I accept the principal position, but because I deserve it, not because I'm your girlfriend. I accept, and you deserve it more than anyone. And third," Anna Marie smiled for the first time, "I want you to really know who I am. Not the desperate woman who asked for your leftovers, but the strong woman I truly am." "I already know her," Arthur said, taking her hand, "and I fell in love with her from the first moment." At that moment, Mama Rosa approached with a tray full of food. "Well, lovebirds, I think it's time you had dinner. And this time, Anna Marie, the meal's on the house. It's my early wedding gift." Anna Marie laughed, a genuine, joyful laugh Arthur hadn't heard before. "Mama Rosa, no one's talked about weddings." "My dear," the lady said, winking, "when a woman looks at a man the way you're looking at Arthur, and when a man is willing to change his entire life for a woman like Arthur did for you, a wedding is just a matter of time." What is the most significant aspect of Arthur's grand gesture of returning and renovating the school? How does Carlos's spontaneous daddy transform Arthur's world and solidify his new purpose? Share your insights in the comments. A love story, written in action. 6 months later, Arthur and Anna Marie married in a small, intimate ceremony in the garden of Greenwich Village Elementary School, which had reopened its doors with Anna Marie as principal. Arthur had kept his promise. He had changed not only his way of doing business, but his entire life. He now dedicated half his time to social projects, helping communities that had been affected by urban development. And Anna Marie had found not only the love of her life, but also the opportunity to make the difference she had always dreamed of. The school had become a model to follow, with innovative programs and comprehensive support for the neighborhood families. But the most beautiful thing of all was seeing Carlos, now 4 years old, running through the school corridors shouting, "Mommy, Daddy," every time he saw his parents. On their wedding night, as they danced slowly in the schoolyard under the stars, Anna Marie whispered to Arthur, "You know what's the most incredible thing about our story?" "What?" "It all started with a question I was ashamed to ask. 'May I have the leftovers, sir?' And it ended with the most abundant life I ever dreamed of having." Arthur hugged her tighter. "No, my love. The most incredible thing is that when I thought I had everything, I discovered I had nothing. And when I found true love, I realized I had everything that truly matters." And as they continued dancing, surrounded by the people they loved, in the place where everything had begun to change, Both knew that sometimes the most beautiful stories are born from the most difficult moments. Because when two hearts are destined to find each other, neither social differences, nor past mistakes, nor wounded pride can stop true love. And so, a simple question on a rainy night changed two lives forever, proving that miracles still happen when we least expect them. What is the ultimate message about love and worth conveyed by Arthur and Anna Marie's journey? How does their story challenge the idea that happiness can be found in material wealth alone? Share your final reflections and tell us what country you're watching from.